Hi all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology. And today, Mercury retrograde. Yes, I have no idea how it caught up to us yet again, but here we are in June 2020 and Mercury is going backwards within the sign of Cancer. I'm breaking it all down, what you can expect with this energy, what this is actually good for, and rising sign by rising sign, what you can expect your review, recalibration, reflection to take place. Before diving in, if you could do me a favor, like, subscribe, and turn the little bell on for notifications for all of my cosmic content. It really helps me keep these weekly vids coming. Follow me at Haley Comet Astrology, which is on the screen. I create an IGTV every Monday morning called Magic Monday about the week's energy, how to lean in, where there's opportunity, dates and times, so you can strike when the iron is hot and rest when the cosmos is not quite working for you. So, with all of that, let's dive in. So Mercury is retrograde in Cancer, which can be a little volatile. Cancer is a very emotionally responsive energy. At its shadow side, it is a little bit moody, and with it influencing Mercury, which is the planet of communication, we are more likely to lash out. Cancer is represented by a crab. It has a shell. It is defensive, and it has its little pinchers too. So with Mercury in Cancer, we have to watch ourselves from being extra volatile with our speak or extra emotionally charged. Cancer is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs act. Cancer is a water sign. It acts on its emotions. So be mindful, especially while we're all kind of swimming in the torrents of eclipse season. This is the kind of energy where you could lash out at someone and then have to review it as the course of Mercury in retrograde goes on. So we are entering the shadow period June 2nd, 2020. Mercury will be retrograde from June 18th to July 12th, and then it'll exit the shadow July 26th. So what do I mean with this shadow business? Basically, shadow are the degrees that Mercury is retrograde. So I'm Mercury, I'm just chugging along in May, and the second I hit June 2nd, is when I will eventually retrace the degrees. So it goes on, it's in the shadow June 2nd to June 3rd, and then as soon as the retrograde begins, which is June 18th, it starts going backwards all the way back to when that shadow began, June 2nd, in degrees. And it exits the shadow when it starts entering new degrees that it hasn't been in yet on this journey. So shadow periods, what occurs will give little clues on what the story will be for you. For example, you have a blowout fight with a family member on June 3rd. You can be sure that since it's the shadow period, that argument will have to be reviewed, readdressed in some way. Mercury in retrograde is good for anything that starts with the prefix re. It's not good for launching new things because typically you'll have to kind of rework some elements of that project. So for example, you come out with a novel and then during Mercury retrograde, you might have to, there was a distribution problem, so you have to rework its launch. It's not that it's impossible, it's just that it's likely to have a couple of errors, a couple of technical flukes, or something about it will have to be reviewed. So if at all possible, do try to delay important launches until August when it clears the shadow, but of course we can't pause the entirety of the world. So just be mindful, double check everything, especially contracts. Lots of you could be experiencing this Mercury in Cancer transit as a move, as Cancer does rule home. And with Mercury, it's like conversations around the home. So renting or working through housing contracts or working with a landlord of some sort. Just really be mindful of anything that you sign, especially for something as important as housing, that you're not missing anything. With Mercury in retrograde, there could be elements that you might sign into and then 6 months later be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that when I signed that housing agreement, I was saying he didn't have to provide hot water, he being the landlord. I would hope that's not the case, but it's just really important with anything that you sign in regards to a home that you double check it. It also, if possible, put the contracts aside. Life has to go on. So just be mindful, get second opinions on everything that you sign just to make sure that it's airtight, especially in regards to housing, as it could be part of that. Be mindful around emotionally volatile language that you could employ. And a lot of the stories for a lot of people could be around family, as Cancer rules family. So it could be an opportunity to kind of readdress some of the problems that could have started early June. And at the time of filming this, I mean, it's eclipse season. It's very charged right now with the Black Lives Matter movement and with the pandemic. So if there's been arguments with your family members, this Mercury in Cancer could be an opportunity to bring it up again, to work through it. It's not a cursed time. It's just a time that we can kind of take things that are already happening and rework them. So for example, you got halfway through a short story. This is the time to kind of look to your shelf of unfinished products and be like, okay, what can I kind of rework, or what can I use to review? It's great for writers because it's a good time for kind of rewriting or editing, reworking your piece in some way. It can be a great time of taking that Mercury analytical lens and reworking how we process emotionally. So maybe kind of taking that mental energy of Mercury and being like, what are some skills that I can employ my mind so I can better emotionally prepare myself for the occasional harshness of the outside world. It could be a great time of reworking, refinancing your home. Just make sure to read everything over a million times. It could be a great time of reviewing your housing, or maybe rearranging your home to find a better flow of energy, or using that analytical side of Mercury to go through your belongings and get rid of what no longer serves you. Cancer can be a very nostalgic energy. So you might find with Mercury in Cancer, a lot of your thoughts are on the past. And while it's beautiful to reflect on the past and kind of gain lessons from it, I don't want you to stay there. So by all means, Mercury Retrograde is a great time to reflect, journal on your feelings, kind of make peace with them. But remember that the only pace of life is forward. And Mercury Retrograde does kind of give us a pause to reflect on the progress we've made so far. But try not to get stuck there. Cancer can kind of have this illustrious glow of what used to be. So you might just be kind of glamorizing the past and kind of not taking into account, the ugly sides of the things that you're not remembering, and just taking into account the beautiful sides. So you're welcome to revisit the past, but just find what can help you in your future. Reflect, but don't stay in the past. Mercury can also be a nice time to use an analytical approach to your emotions. Cancer is very emotionally responsive, and it could be using kind of logical ways to equip yourself to better handle your emotions. So maybe reading books about emotion regulation, or learning more effective ways to energetically cleanse yourself so you don't take on from other people. It could just be merging this analytical nature of Mercury with this feeling nature of Cancer, and help us kind of reflect inward on, what do I need to give to myself to make myself feel a little bit more supported and safe. Cancer is always looking to feel safe. And the ideas of what makes you feel safe could shift during this transit, kind of on this internal journey. Retrograde is turning the filter inward. So you could kind of question to yourself, where do I feel safe? Like, what from the past made me feel secure, and how can I shift that moving forward? There could be a lot of thoughts around your home, around your family, reworking to create a reality that is more emotionally supportive and more safe. Cancers want to feel safe. They're a crab, they want to feel safe in their little shell. I do think that there will be some emotional turmoil and disagreements over the course of this Mercury retrograde, but I do believe they can be worked through. Mercury will square Mars in Aries, which will certainly contribute to quite a bit of backlash and lash outs, etc. Mars in Aries is definitely subject to fits of anger, and Mercury in Cancer is emotionally volatile. So this is kind of energy where disagreements can spiral out of control, people can lash out. Cardinal signs are associated with action. So both Mercury in Cancer and Mars in Aries aren't going to back down. They're going to say exactly what they think. But I do believe that these arguments that will come up have the ability to be healed and worked through, because Mercury also sextiles Uranus and Taurus during this transit. Since Mercury in Cancer is associated with the past, it can be a really powerful time to talk about the past and invite in the winds of transformation, the winds of moving forward, because that's what Uranus does. To get more information on where you could experience this Mercury retrograde transit, I'm going to break it down rising sign by rising sign. So I'll start with Cancer rising. So with Mercury moving backwards in your first house, a lot of your mental framework could be around, how is it that I want to show up in the world? What is the identity that I want to portray? And am I being true to who I am with my outward kind of veneer? There could be some work around taking care of your physical body, so perhaps creating more boundaries so you feel more safe within your body, or doing work to kind of build up your immune system, or working around your style and what makes you feel safe and what makes you feel true to yourself and true to your intuition. With a first house transit, it is mostly about you, but you could have conversations with people from your past, as it is like opposing your descendant, which you're meant to kind of use that to analytically question yourself. Like, for example, you reconnect with a friend, you could turn it inward and be like, what about that friendship made me feel so emotionally supported? And how can I invite more of that kind of quality into my life? And it also could the lessons also could take place in work, but always pull it back. What is this revealing to me about me? You could find that you're a lot more likely to speak out on what you believe in. And part of the lesson could be on the ramifications of your words and the kind of consequences that they can have. So learning to speak in a way that is authentically representative of yourself, making it feel true to your emotions, because that's very important as a Cancer rising. I'm going to go backwards so I can move around the houses. So with Gemini rising, Mercury is retrograde within your second house. So a couple of manifestations. One could be you could rework your budgeting. Like as soon as, the COVID restrictions end, you might be planning your next trip and you need to rework to make sure your saving, your budgeting, your investing is on point to make that happen. You could be reworking your skill set. So use this energy to be like, okay, how can I equip myself with the skills, because Mercury is very logical and analytical, where I feel more safe as a earner. Because remember, Cancer wants to feel safe. And in the second house, you could equip yourself with more mercurial skills, so you know that if something were to happen with your job or with the job market, you feel comfortable in bouncing back because you have a robust skill set at your disposal. You also could get some payouts of the past that you forgot about and it just kind of comes up, or some paperwork of the past. You could get a contract with someone that you used to work on in some way. Just be mindful. With Mercury in Cancer, there's an emotionally responsive charge to it, and with it in the second house, be mindful around talking about work or talking about money, because it can kind of catch up to you rather quickly. Let's say you're emotional and you're like, I'm not feeling valued at work, and you lash out in a Slack little message to a friend. With Mercury retrograde, that could come back to bite you. So be really mindful in the words that you employ to make sure that you would be comfortable with everyone seeing that. And with Mercury in Cancer, you're likely to feel a lot more volatile with your language in general. Taurus rising, Mercury is retrograde in your third house, and with it, it can bring back a project or a written project from the past. So let's say you had a blog and you forgot about it, and you might kind of recall during this Mercury retrograde, wow, that was something that really made me feel emotionally supported and really secure in my skin. I'm going to bring it back in order to reflect and process the world. You could decide hey, I never really got that certification in Pilates, and now I would absolutely love to because I have extra time because of the pandemic. It could be a time of kind of turning the lens inward to be what do I want to learn about, and how can I equip myself with more skills so I feel more safe It's in Cancer. So I feel more safe and I feel more equipped. You could do a lot more journaling, do a lot more writing. You could have a lot more internal kind of reflection around how you speak your truth or how you communicate in general. There could be a lesson around speaking from a place that is, yes, emotionally representative and authentic, but not lashing out. So there could be some work, and with it, if you kind of lash out on something or lash out on a blog or some sort of social media, it could come back to bite you. Third house is also social media, so you might be reworking how you come off to others, your brand, so to speak. Venus would be like your aesthetic, but Mercury is more so the language that you employ, the subjects that you talk about. So maybe it's reworking how you want to be seen via your words or the words that you want to express. Hey, it's me editing, and I forgot a whole aspect of the third house, so don't mind me just looping it in. Third house is electronics, so you can expect that your computer, your phone is going to behave a little wacky. So definitely back up all of your files, double check your emails. This is sort of energy where you might think that you sent something that actually didn't get sent at all. And check on your automobile as well, so ensuring that your tires have lots of air pressure in them or the appropriate amount of air pressure, ensuring that you get oil changes, giving yourself extra time to get anywhere, because this is the kind of energy where there's likely to be delays or holdups of some sort. Aries rising, Mercury is retrograde in your fourth house. So this really emphasizes all those Cancerian topics that I discussed at the beginning. You could have to have a conversation with a family member, like maybe you guys butt heads earlier in the year, and now you have to kind of draw the lens to that relationship for the purpose of repairing it or moving forward. You could have to rework your living situation, re-sign a lease, or look for a different place to live. You could have to deal with some problems at home and have to communicate with different, handymen and things like that for them to fix your home. And all in all, you might just find that you're more comfortable, you're more safe just being at home during this time, drawing the focus inward, reflecting. The fourth house is also emotional state, so you might find that you do some studying, some learning, that's Mercury, in order to feel more safe emotionally and feel more supported, feel more nurtured. But overall, expect family and home to be highlighted quite a bit. Pisces rising, Mercury is retrograde in your fifth house. So this Pisces risings, I know you guys are very creative, so if you have a painting that is half finished or a story that is half written, awesome time to go to those drafts and complete them, because there might be, you're pretty emotional, so leaning into the emotions depicted in that work, and you might find it's very cathartic or emotionally healing as you rework it and complete it. So awesome time to look at the projects that are half done within your life. You also might have to have some conversations with children. So if you had an argument when Mercury is in its shadow, you might use this energy to review that conversation and really get through to your child in a way that makes them feel safe and secure and emotionally supported. You also could have a conversation with a lover, as this is the house of romance. So you could have a conversation with the lover that you're dating, or perhaps with an ex, having to review the past, but use it as a chance to reflect within yourself. So if an ex comes back, using it as an opportunity to be like, okay, what in that union made me feel safe, and how can I replicate that in other ways? Like, for example, you get a partner who's really spontaneous and they hit you up and being like, you know what, I loved living in a world that made me feel spontaneous and fun. How can I do more spontaneous things in my life moving forward, etc. And with a partner, you just might find that you two have to have some sort of dialogue around how you can make the other person feel safe, or how to emotionally express yourself. Lean into it rather than move away. Mercury retrograde is honestly amazing for having really thoughtful internal conversations, and with it in Cancer, particularly emotionally charged conversations. Also, Pisces risings, I just wanted to add in that you might feel this as a creative slowdown, particularly at the beginning. So it's good to look to those old projects for inspiration, or you might need to seek out new inspiration. So day trip to the beach, or going to see nature or things like that to kind of get those wheels turning in your head. It also could be a really nice time of thinking back to your childhood, of the activities and the hobbies that you adored when you were a child, and dabbling in them to see if they hold the same luster in your life now. And that might also help you kind of creatively move forward.
Aquarius rising, Mercury is retrograde in your 6th house. So you could reconnect with a coworker who you had a really strong emotional connection with, but like lost touch with. You could restart a work project that you had thought was complete and you might need to rework certain aspects of it. You might remember the time that, you used some sort of diet or some sort of kind of more mental framework around dieting and health and be like, you know what, that made me feel really safe and really good. Maybe I'll bring it back again. So some sort of, rather than food, because that would be more moon, Mercury in the 6th would be like researching different health topics or researching different diets or using like mantras or meditations in order to promote health and healing within your body. It also could be, if you've been neglecting certain like things that are hurting or don't feel quite right, this could be a time to rework it. So get the help that you need, go into the doctor or research it quite a bit. If you have been ignoring any health concerns within your body, there could be inconveniences around a pet within your life. And I also would just really recommend, 6th house is the act of service. Make sure everything that you digitally write, you would be comfortable with people knowing, especially if it's like volatile or emotionally charged with the energy in Cancer, because Mercury retrograde can be a review of what language you've employed around work. So just being extra mindful around that.
Also, this is an awesome energy for reorganizing your workspace, making your workspace feel more homey. You could reconnect with colleagues from your past that you've lost touch with.
But good for reworking any proposals or pitches or sales pitches that have already been happening in terms of work. Capricorn rising, Mercury in Cancer is retrograde within your 7th house. So you might reconnect with some people from your past that you've lost touch with. You could, see an ex who made you feel emotionally supported, or maybe someone who challenged your emotional support and didn't make you feel safe. And Capricorn rising, Mercury in retrograde is Capricorn rising, Mercury is retrograde within your 7th house of other people. So you can certainly get some blasts from the past coming back. And it could be individuals from your past who made you feel safe and emotionally supportive on one side, or people who were very moody and nearly manipulative, depending on what your experience has been. And using the analytical nature of Mercury to kind of reflect on those unions. I always say with retrogrades, it's not your invitation to run into their arms and into the sunset, but rather retrograde is the internal energy. Reflect, what did this person teach me about my own emotional support, about what makes me feel safe, about what I look for in a partner, whether that's business, romantic, etc. Mercury. And you could also have to rework some sort of contract that you have with a business partner. Just make sure to reread it and reread it and reread it again. Use that diligent Capricorn rising brain of yours to ensure that the contracts that you sign during this time are airtight. You might have a disagreement with a significant other, or have to have a tough conversation around how to honor the other person's emotions more fully. Or you could be discussing a lot with your partner, where should we live? Do we have to take care of your parents? I don't like your in-laws. Conversation around family with your one-to-one partner. Really, you have this nice emotional foundation to really open your hearts to one another and make one another feel safe, and to really consider where the other person is coming from. So rather than channeling that energy of Cancer, which can be very volatile and just kind of lash out, allowing the other person to feel safe, because this can be a really nice time of communicating honestly and empathetically. Sagittarius rising, Mercury is retrograde in your 8th house. So there could be some reworking of child support or alimony contracts that you have in place. You could need to have a conversation with a business partner on your shared assets and how you're going to divide them up or create something where you both feel a little bit more safe and more emotionally fulfilled. You could have to have some tough conversation with family members around support that you've been giving them or that they've been giving you. These are all subjects that are up for review. 8th house is also intimacy. So if you haven't been intimate with your partner, it gives a really nice safe space for you to discuss those concerns
and create a dialogue emotionally where you're able to feel safe with one another to go there fully with your partner. Scorpio rising, Mercury is retrograde in your 9th house. So you could have to replan some traveling, like you wanted to go to Bali and now with like the pandemic you weren't able to, so you could have to rework those plans, shift it to October. Just double check all of your travel dates, because this is common of like booking from the wrong airport or getting the time zones wrong. So really important for you to review all of your travel plans, make sure it's airtight, reschedule if you need to due to the pandemic. You also could be doing some reworking around your education that you wish to pursue. You might have to really lean on your intuition. Cancer is associated with the moon, which is our intuitive kind of radar in life, and you might have to choose between college A and college B and really have to question what intuitively feels better to me. You may have to do some analysis around your belief systems, around your religion, and questioning what makes me feel safe in this world. What can I give myself that helps me frame my worldview in a more emotionally supportive way? These are all up for review. Libra rising, Mercury is retrograde in your 10th house of career and public perception. You could experience this as words that you've said from the past, like any sort of digital trail could catch up to you. Words that you said, in an emotional moment, you could have to deal with the repercussions around it. This is your public perception. So it could be that there is something said online, or you have to deal with some kind of poor reviews around how you are seen. You also could be doing some rework around your career, like, hey, this is what I was doing, but now I really feel intuitively guided to take my goals in a different direction. And while I wouldn't say this is the time to launch it, this is the time to really analyze, what does my heart want? What does my soul want? Cancer is a very internal, deep sign, and here it's really questioning, how do I want to show up in this public way, in a way that feels authentic and true to myself?
This is also a great time to revamp your public image. So if you've been wanting to make new business cards or review your branding or your mission statement, this is an awesome time to use that analytical, mercurial mind to focus on, how am I being seen versus how do I want to be seen? How can I reshape the public persona in a way that is more authentic to myself?
So just ensure you do everything through carefully, double check everything, and any word that you say in a public workspace, make sure you're comfortable with everyone hearing that. Virgo rising, Mercury is retrograde in your 11th house of friends, groups, and organizations. So you could have some mental dialogue around, hey, I really loved skiing and I lost touch with the Denver Ski Club. Maybe I can reconnect with them. This is like a time of analyzing which of your friends feel like family. Because with Virgo rising, since you have Cancer in your 11th house, you're really meant to have a group of people who really feel like family, make you feel emotionally supported. I know Virgo rising tends to kind of perform or put on a face that they've got it all together. And this is really about being more analytical around the friends that you don't have to perform for, the ones that you just feel safe with, and reconnecting with people from the past who made you feel that way. Kind of taking this internal look at what groups and organizations really feel like they see my heart and support who I am, and how can I continue to nurture those bonds and those groups that bring out the best sides of me. So you could be doing some kind of analytical framework around what it is that you want in a friend. You could have to deal with disagreements that you've had with a friend, either in shadow period or maybe before, or even reconnect with a frenemy or someone from your past who you're meant to kind of learn something from in order to move forward. Also, 11th house is hopes and dreams. So you could be doing some work around, what is it that I want from life, and what is it that I really feel tied to? And maybe it's going back in your journals and being like, what was I journaling about when I was 13? And does that still apply? Do I still feel intuitively guided towards that? And can I rework my dreams for the future to accommodate where my heart really longs to go? Leo rising, Mercury is retrograde in your 12th house. So this is a very spiritual time, and you could really do a lot of work around bolstering that method of communication. So I want you to really take time to open yourself up in that way. With Mercury retrograde, it's an internal call, and with it in Cancer, to utilize your intuition and to really bolster that as a method of receiving insight from
on yourself. You might find you're much more called to spend time with yourself. You might find that you have less energy, but really show up spiritually for yourself, whether that's meditating, maybe using an oracle deck, or bolstering your communication with the other side if you are getting like insights like that. You also could find this really compassionate lens to it. So you feel more called to volunteer at a nursing home or visit a family member who is in a prison of some sort. 12th house is where we sacrifice our own skills for something bigger. So you could find that you are more drawn to altruistic work where you can have kind of more healing dialogue with people who are in need of it the most. So friends, what are you looking forward to about this transit? What are you dreading? I'd love to hear. Comment below. I'm pretty good about answering all your questions. So if you even want to say what house it's in, I would love to hear it. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.